Welcome back to this tutorial series for Katana. In the previous series called Introduction to Katana, we set up a simple scene. In this series, we'll use more advanced methods and assemble a scene containing 21 shots, otherwise known as a multi-shot scene. Working efficiently, fast, and non-destructively will be recurring themes, and by the end of this series you'll have a better understanding of how to get the most out of Katana. Before we begin, you can download the assets for this series on the Foundry Learn page to either follow the tutorial as you go along, or to play around with the scenes. First of all, setting up a folder structure in your project is critical for storing work and makes your life a lot easier. Make sure every asset has a place in a project folder, especially if you frequently iterate your work. You'll really want a structure that enables you to manage, version, and share assets easily. Now look into the project folder. We've broken down the following elements for this example. The Assets folder contains assets for this project. Any asset imported on a per sequence basis, such as the environment, is kept here, along with other modeled assets or scenes. Your Episodes folder stores the sequence for the project. We split the Alembic files according to shots. Any animated props, characters, cameras will be kept in these folders. All the naming conventions for the assets are consistent, to enable us to manage them in the Katana scenes easily. The Master folder is where we'll keep the Katana project files. Now that we've had an overview of the project organization, let's start setting up the Katana project. The first step is to launch Katana. We now have an empty scene, and we will save it in the folder structure. Click File, Save As, and within your project directory, name this Mudcast SOS VO1. This is the name of the sequence. We're giving it this name since it'll hold all the shots for this sequence. Let's import the assets for the first shot. Press Tab over the node graph and bring in either an Alembic in or an Importomatic node. The difference is that an Importomatic is simply a super tool that is creating an Alembic in node and has some additional functionalities in its interface. If you're in a production studio setting, your assets could possibly be brought in through an asset management system. In the name parameter, classify this under geo/chr. This is mainly for scene organization, and it will place the asset under this hierarchy in the scene graph. It doesn't really matter where it goes, as long as you keep consistency in your scenes. I've organized my animated Alembic files under this path. Let's bring in our first character, Brad, for the first shot. For the moment, this path is not set relatively. We'll go over a slightly more robust way than seen in previous series. You can use the path.join function to set a path that will be compatible across Windows and Linux. We'll walk through each part of this expression. Right-click on the parameter and set this to an expression. Type in project.dir. This takes us to the directory where the Katana project file is saved. The double dots takes you up a level in the folder structure. Let's go up 2 levels, and we are now under the mod 001 SOS folder level. It's in the first shots ABC folder where the Alembic files are. Once we've done this, the same ABC file will be called. The only difference is that it is now relative to the project, which means if you ever move the folder you're working in, all the paths will remain correctly set. Now that we've brought in our first asset, let's do the same for all the other assets for this shot. This includes the characters, props, and camera. It's a good idea to rename these nodes to keep the node graph neat. To rename a node, you can hit Enter over it in the node graph. Remember, for camera imports, in the parameters toggle the Add to Camera list to display it in the viewer's camera list. Select all these nodes and press M to merge them. Group them by selecting them and hitting G. We'll call this shot_01. And we can use backdrop nodes to quickly identify where everything is in the node graph. Now we've brought in all the animated assets for this shot. Let's do the same for the environment. This asset is consistent across all the shots, so we'll reference that only once and merge it with all the shots. Now we can quickly set up the rest of the scene. Create a material node, set it to a basic color, and apply it to the entire scene. Create a Gaffer 3 node with basic 3D lights, area lights, and position it to light our geometry. We will cover the look development and lighting processes in depth in a later series. For now, we're just focusing on building the scene. In our Render Settings node, set the scene camera in camera name, the resolution, and set the Adjust Screen window to Adjust Height to match resolution. In the DL settings, overrides, tick Enable interactive previewing with speed boost, and you can override the resolution and sampling. This not only speeds up your renders on the monitor, but also this setting is ignored when you send off a final disk or batch render. This can be used to optimize your scenes while you're working on it. It won't be taken into account if, let's say, you forget to revert it before rendering. That's a typical error that is made with a lot of tools, but with this feature, you'll never make this mistake again. The last step is to go into project settings and set in and out times on our shots. In preparation for this series, I've exported each alembic to start at frame 1001. This is often done in studio productions because shot durations change frequently. Launch a preview render. We should see all our assets for the first shot. Let's do the same for the other 20 shots. Copy across the first group we've created and change the shot value. The namings for the asset are the same across all the shots, so we can quickly import them by dragging the shot number in the expressions. If you have an asset management system, it would be much faster to use that to streamline the process of importing your assets. In the next episode, we'll go over how to set up a multi-shot workflow using graph state variables to jump across the shots quickly.